If you have your Bibles and want to follow along with me, I'm going to be talking from John chapter 21, Gospel of John chapter 21. I'm going to start with verse 17. He said to him the third time, "Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me?" Peter was grieved because he said to him the third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. Most assuredly, I say to you, when you were younger, you girded yourself and walked where you wished. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will gird you and carry you where you do not wish." This he spoke, signifying by what death he would glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he said to him, "Follow me." Then Peter, turning around, saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following, who had also leaned on his breast at the supper, and said, "Lord, who is the one who betrays you?" Peter, seeing him, said to Jesus, "But Lord, what about this man?" Jesus said to him, "If I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you? You follow me." It's a famous Bible story. You probably have heard lots of sermons and Sunday school lessons on it. It's important, and it's also painful and lots of speculation. And you probably heard a lot of those. Jesus has asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" And 3 times, Peter has said yes. And this is happening probably within earshot and in eyesight of the other disciples. We all love those, don't we? Conversations in front of people who know us or don't know us. Kind of like we should be talking quietly. But that's not what's going on. Bible scholars have a consensus. They say that this event is part of Jesus rehabilitating Peter for his 3 denials. You may remember the story. Jesus is being tried, and 3 times they asked Peter, "Weren't you with them?" "Nope, that wasn't me." And the 3rd time he cursed. As a kid, that seemed like the worst part. Denying Jesus, that was not important. Cursing was far worse. That was some of my Curt Lee sarcasm, sorry. So Jesus is going back and giving him 3 chances to say he loves him. We didn't read that story because our focus this morning is on what comes next. Jesus tells Peter part of his future. When Peter is older, he will be led away to a place he does not want to go. It's not actually usual for God to tell us our future. Even in the Bible, there are plenty of prophecies, but a lot of times we don't get specifics. You will do this and you will do that. There are some, and this is one of those. But Peter is told that he's going to be taken someplace he does not want to go. This summer, I went to a place I did not want to go. Centennial Hospital in Nashville. Started with a blood test. Had some bad calcium scores, and that was a red flag, but surely we can fix that somehow easily. Probably nothing. Had a stress test, because that's the next step. I didn't really want to do that either, but stress test. I passed the stress test. For the record, I passed the stress test. My cardiologist was annoyingly right. Well, sometimes the stress test misses things. I think you should have your heart catheterized. Hope that's the right verb. LaFawn, I'm looking to you because you're our medical professional. Thank you. I didn't want to do that either. And then when they showed me the screen, all the blockages, well, that made it really simple. It was surgery. I didn't want to go, but it was that or terrible things. So off to surgery. I definitely did not want that. Surgery was successful. I feel better. I'm still rehabbing, but I'm basically healthy. Got a ton of help from my Lindsay friends. So thank all of you that were helping me in that and still helping me. But I went someplace I didn't want to go. I have some rough news for us. We all go places we don't want to go, sooner or later. I'd like us to look at Peter's story and the progression of how this happens and kind of see if there's a pattern for us and how God works with each of us. With Peter, we have a diagnosis. There's something wrong. Jesus performs surgery. He discharges him from his surgery, even though it's a surgery by the lake. There's some rehab involved. And Peter comes out of this broadly healthy. Now, he still knows he's going to die later in a way that's pretty painful and not something to pursue. There's nothing wrong with dread and pain and death. Those are normal human reactions. Death is part of the life down here. But basically, Peter's being told when you're older, this will happen, so he can enjoy the time between now and then. Maybe as we look at this, we'll see a bit of ourselves in this. When Peter denies Jesus 3 times, he did this after boldly promising, well, everybody else might leave you. I will never leave you. Anybody ever said something you regret? Maybe you regretted it like 1 second, or even in the middle of it coming out of your mouth is like, I bet that moment came back to Peter as the rooster crowed. After Jesus died, Peter drifted back to his old job, fishing. But Jesus came and got him. He did not leave him in his drifting. And just like 3 times Peter denied Jesus, 3 times Jesus confronts Peter with that question, do you love me? As we read in the verse, Peter was grieved because he asked him 3 times. But we can understand that, can't we? No one likes to be confronted about our failures, and no one likes our failures highlighted in front of others, and definitely not 3 times. But Jesus does it with Peter because it's important. Jesus is cutting out performing surgery on Peter's failures, and he's transplanting in him this calling that he is calling Peter to. Feed my flock. That's what Jesus is calling Peter to do. From, oh no, I'm not with him, to feed my sheep, feed my lambs, feed the people who follow me. Peter will lead the early church after Jesus ascends to heaven. He's one of the most vocal voices. Eventually it becomes Paul, but Peter is there at the beginning. Jesus is entrusting Peter with his people. Think about that responsibility. Think about that heaviness of that task. In some ways, I think that Jesus is being kind and gracious to Peter by calling him out. Are you like me? This is starting to sound like parents saying, this hurts me worse than it hurts you. You're going, no, Dad, I'm pretty sure this hurts me. But Jesus is calling Peter to lead his people and his other followers. And won't all those people have heard about the denials? Won't they be wondering, yeah, can we trust this guy? When the heat was on before, he melted. Then Jesus tells Peter of his future death. and the arms being outstretched. Most commentators do agree that believes that applies to crucifixion, and tradition tells us Peter was crucified. And then, if we look at verse 18, I think you will see that Jesus summarizes Peter's life, and in a lot of ways, this is our life. He takes him from being young to old. He talks about dressing himself. That's the girding, tying the belt, getting the last thing ready. When I look in the mirror, I guess they had some type of mirrors at the time, but am I ready to go? Dressing himself to needing help to dress. These words, going versus being taken. That was one thing I hated this summer. And for my friends that gave me rides, thank you. Thanks to public safety. They came over and helped me. It is so annoying being trapped in your own home, even when you love your home. Being taken. And at the end, moving freely to being moved without our consent. These are painful realities, aren't we? I don't want to think about them. None of us want to think about 18 to 22-year-olds. You don't want to think about this. You are young and strong. I bet some of you can still run. In heaven, I'm looking forward to running because on these knees, it's not happening again. But sooner or later, we're getting to a place where someone's taking us we don't want to go. Now, Peter's death would glorify God. Jesus tells him, or the text tells us that. But I still bet it was difficult to hear. There's an old saying, the blood of the martyrs has been the seed of the church. That when people die for Jesus, that spreads the gospel and strengthens the church. And Jesus did tell us, his disciples, those of us that believe, we are to take up our cross and follow him. So we know there are painful realities to the Christian life. And Jesus completes this message to Peter in verse 19. This is after John's explanation of what Jesus' words mean. But if you have a red letter edition, there's two words in red in verse 19. Follow me. This is where Jesus' words may be familiar. Start of the gospel. What does Jesus start his ministry with his disciples and to his disciples? Follow me. They're out fishing, they're living their life, and Jesus comes along and says, follow me. Someone cleverer than me has said, discipleship is followship. Not fellowship, but followship. Following Jesus together. And Jesus is still calling Peter to follow him. Peter's being recommissioned. He's getting a second chance. Lindsay Wilson, we love second chances and third chances and 27 chances. And praise the Lord, when they walk across the stage, we stop counting the chances. So this is great. And then Peter has a moment. It's a negative moment. Peter turns to another disciple, John. It doesn't give his name, but generally recognized as John. And he asked Jesus about him. This is found in verses 20 and 21. Then Peter, turning around, saw the disciple whom Jesus loved, etc. Let me give you that in the Amy Thompson Wells translation. For those of you that know Amy, you know what I'm likely to say here. Then Peter, bless his heart, turning around. Because this is great. It's embarrassing, it's painful, but he's come through it, and Jesus is saying, look what I've got for you. And what is Peter's response? Not, thank you so humbly, Lord, for giving me another chance. But what about that guy? What about that person? What about him? What about her? It's very human, isn't it? Bless our hearts. It's still wrong, even though it's human. We know it's wrong because of how Jesus answers. He says, "What is that to you?" Or as one of the commentators translated it or paraphrased it, "Just mind your own business. That's between me and him. That's between me and her." It's so easy to compare and contrast ourselves, isn't it? But why me? Why this? How come I can't do that? I want the moral temptation of having millions and trying to decide who to give it to, but I've not been entrusted with that. And Peter has a moment of realization. God has a plan for every single person. Believer or unbeliever, God has a plan for all. Is it 8 billion yet, or is it almost 8 billion? What's the correct number as of this morning? Okay, I saw some people Googling. Is it 8 billion? God has a plan for every one of us. We may say no to the plan, but God has one. God has called everyone. He values everyone. He loves everyone. But we still have different lives and different ministries. And by the way, the word ministry means service. And we all serve others in one way or another, hopefully in many ways. Peter's ministry is to be a shepherd. He's feeding the sheep. He's supposed to be a preacher, and if you read the book of Acts, strong voice. He was a boisterous spokesperson all his life. And he's also called to be crucified. John, the other disciple, he's more quietly bold. He's the one that's there at the cross as Jesus is dying. That took a lot of courage. He's not the guy talking loudly. He's the quiet guy standing with Jesus' mother. He later is a prophet or a seer. God is giving him visions that we have preserved in the Bible. And John, by tradition, was the last survivor. He died of natural causes, of old age. Two different lifestyles. Are you like me? You're sitting there going, okay, I know I should say Peter because that's what we're talking about, but I kind of like John. We don't get to choose. But I got good news. Even though every life has difficulties, and at some point, inevitably, we all get led some places we don't want to go, we don't go there alone. And if Christians do follow Jesus in crucifixion, as the Bible teaches, we also follow him in resurrection, as the Bible teaches. He doesn't leave us in the grave. He doesn't even leave us in the graves of our mistakes and our errors and our whatever we do wrong. Not just salvation, but he comes and gives us second chances like he does to Peter. Yes, believers are called to die daily to ourselves. The Bible teaches that. Yes, Galatians says I need to always put Jesus first. But our lives down here and what we do and how we live them are valuable to God. They're important to God. And they're part of God's plan for us. Everyone is personally called to life, a life personally planned by the God who personally made us and purposely loves us. Our choice, our calling, and our ministry, he calls us to each of these. Yes, we enjoy his blessings, and we trust his leading through the pain and the difficulty. But Jesus' call continues. Follow me. So I have a question for you this morning. Where are we going, and who are we following?